Robin?
Hi. I have no idea. December 2nd, 2021. It has been an intense day. I woke up like rearing to go at 6 and I pretty much haven't stopped. I was on a phone call with Jonathan in Austin at 6 or 6:30, maybe 6:30, talking about the team that we need to produce our next big project, which is happening in mid-January. And it's going to be one of the biggest film shoots we've ever done. So I did that while I was starting to drink my morning puer, my morning caffeine. And then I sat down for 30 minutes and I journaled about Zander Media. And then I was right back to it and I was on email. Specifically, a client that we're doing a lot of work for right now got back to us about a 1-day shoot next Wednesday. So we're trying to figure out if that's something we can do. And it's just kept on going from there. It's all really positive. There've been few hiccups, a few little fires, a few, right, people's emotions, including mine, get triggered or whatever. But like generally, it's all been extremely positive. It's also just been extremely busy. I am going to Hawaii and I am facilitating a 3-day leadership offsite for our client, Kinkor Consulting.
Nobody likes expensive placement fees.
But nobody likes expensive placement fees.
This is somebody we've been in touch with for years, actually, and did brand therapy for last spring, produced their video in June and July, have been running ads against their content on LinkedIn for them. And really, a couple of months ago, I stepped in as interim CMO. So I'm spending, I don't know, a chunk of my time thinking about Kinkor's business and how to improve it. And they've grown enormously in a short period of time. With a lot of embedded what we call talent partners at all sorts of interesting companies. And they're, just like we are at Zander Media, scrambling to figure out who they are, for Zander Media, what is our culture given the growth trajectory we're on, and how do we preserve the things that are the most important to us while grow in the ways that we're excited to grow into. And so in the same way at Zander Media, we're going to be having a 1-day retreat, really digging into those things for ourselves in December. I'm going to be the facilitator for Kinkor as Kinkor digs into those things for themselves. Something personal that I wouldn't mind sharing. Hopefully, right, something that's actually worth listening to. I had a really big fight with my mother in August. As I've talked about previously, you should watch the video. We traveled to Ghana together for 4 weeks. I love her a lot, and she pushes all of my buttons. And it was in the middle of the California fires. We were trying to go camping. There was a fiasco with like a leaking gas can in the car. And so we got into a big fight, and I got so angry I punched a wall. And she was shocked, right? That's not something she'd ever seen me do before. But also just, I was so angry at her and felt so betrayed. And we've been starting to go to therapy together. And when I look back, like, there's still some judgment of how I behaved, and certainly judgment for how she behaved, but mostly there's excitement that, you know, she's in her 70s, I'm in my 30s, and even now in the respective complex lives that each of us lead, we're willing to show up for each other and take the next steps to learn about this new evolution of our relationship. What am I making for dinner tonight? I have no idea. I had a profound craving for saag paneer, which I have some in my freezer, but I could also go out and get some. I wasn't here last night. I ate dinner in Berkeley. So I'm going to open my fridge and see what strikes my fancy. And I'm probably going to do it after dark and while I'm answering email. I joke about that, but I want to be really clear. I'm going to eat and answer email at the same time because I'm still going to take 2 hours to exercise in the middle of my afternoon or evening today. Like, I'm going really hard right now, specifically so that I don't have to go hard between Christmas and New Year's and can take 10 days off, completely offline. So there's a like humor to it as I'm like, oh yeah, I'm working really hard, and that's true and that's important. But I'm doing it intentionally. I don't really care what I'm going to eat for dinner tonight because I'm like focused on the thing that's in front of me at this moment, specifically so that Zander Media goes into the holidays really strong and we're really set up for success. And something that I have done in the past, right, that I don't have to do, that I plan to not have to do, is be on calls with my team the day before Christmas or on New Year's Day because there's a bunch of fires that we need to put out in preparation for the year ahead. I've listened to a couple in the last few days that were really compelling. My friend Aaron Dignan, who co-founded Responsive.org and wrote the book Brave New Work, runs the Brave New Work podcast along with his colleague Rodney Evans. And you should check it out. It's great. It's all about the future of work. But their episode that just came out a couple of days ago in early December 2021 was all about how to run a really incredible company offsite. And as I'm going to Hawaii for Kinkor Consulting, and as Zander Media is running our offsite later in December, I'm thinking about how do we create really compelling experiences for teams. There's a podcast called the Conspirituality Podcast, which is all about conspirituality and conspiritualists, as they've kind of coined the term. And I think that even just that name is so perfect because there's so much hucksterism in the wellness industry. One more, the Andrew Huberman Lab podcast. So Andrew Huberman is a professor of ophthalmology and neurobiology at Stanford, and he brings in guests who are scientists looking at optimizing human performance. And sort of given my proclivities in that direction, there's just a ton of great content in the Huberman Lab podcast. I don't have a favorite song to sing. I kind of do different ones all the time. But the best way to sing that I've been practicing or that I've been having fun with is Riley will often want to play tug in the late evening at 7, 8, 9 p.m. And so I will put on a song that I know, sometimes like a musical from Lion King or Aladdin or Rent, and sing as Riley and I are playing tug. On a magic carpet ride, a whole new world, a new fantastic point of view. I love how completely quiet it is outside when I go out and look at the stars some nights in the middle of the night. My nearest neighbors are like hundreds of meters away, right? Are out of sight and out of light range. And everyone in this neighborhood has been here for 30 years. So they go to bed early and they don't throw wild parties, for better or for worse. It'd be kind of fun to have a wild party in the woods sometimes, but it's so quiet and so peaceful. The big float tank in the garage is, in fact, a big float tank in the garage. So my home gym was so well built out that I needed to add something extraordinary to it. Actually, my dear friend, member of my family, Rhonda in Puerto Rico, has been raving to me about floating in a sensory deprivation float tank for years. And I'd never really tried one. And she was talking to a guy on eBay who was selling a 4-foot by 6-foot by 8-foot long room made entirely out of planks of redwood, 4-inch thick slabs of redwood that he had covered in epoxy and built a float tank. And so he was selling it and no one was buying it. So he agreed to drive it down from Salem, Oregon, and I bought it for not a lot of money. And he's teaching me how to build a float tank. I had tried one just a couple of weeks ago, one time, and I was at Rhonda's insistence, you need to try this, you need to try this, you need to try this. Plus, if you like it, here's a float tank you could buy. And I tried it, and it was just so deeply meditative. It is, so the water is skin temperature, blood temperature, so you don't really feel it. And it's 6 pounds of Epsom salt per 1 gallon of water, which makes the water dissolved. So it's really, really buoyant. And so you're floating kind of on top of this layer of skin temperature water in complete darkness. Or you can have lights on if you want, but I like the dark. And it just is so still. It's such a profound form of meditation.
Nice. All right. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.